The challenge with B2B is staying top of mind. And so if you can have a place to continually just dish out what you're working on and just prove credibility, it's literally impossible for it not to work. It's the best way to show that you're good at doing what you're doing.
Shawn, dude, I'm glad we're sitting down and doing this.
Dude, me too. It's been a long time. One since I've been on a podcast, but we met how long ago?
Coming up on 2 years.
Mm-hmm. The event space has been like the surrounding, like the connection between us for the past 2 years. Like we met at an event, now we've been hosting events together.
That's right.
So it's been super cool.
I like it. I think the main reason that, because you're someone I had thought about interviewing before I rebranded, and then now that I've rebranded, obviously the themes are a lot more focused around. If I get only a sentence to describe it, newsletters would be the one word to describe it. And then broadly would just be other interesting things people are doing from a marketing perspective, obviously with a focus and a preference for content marketing. You've used a newsletter to promote events, to promote your personal brand, and of course to promote sales and traffic to physical retail businesses as well. And then you're also doing a business-to-business consulting business. So maybe helpful for people listening to explain kind of the set of projects you're involved in, and then also kind of what your personal portfolio of newsletters looks like. And we can get into how, why, etc. from there.
Cool. So the newsletter itself started as, I'll talk about my brands in just a second, but the newsletter itself started as just a diary of thoughts and ideas that I was working on, and I felt like I wanted to share just the behind the scenes of everything I was doing. And so it wasn't a tool for me to promote anything on the front end. It was just like, hey, friends and family, here's what I'm doing, and a good way to catch up so I don't have to jump on the phone with 1,000 people.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I sent this out started by sending
So when was this that you started?
August of 23.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah.
So right around when we met.
Yep. Everything kind of came together. Newsletter, businesses, all that stuff came around, and including the events around August of 23. So the newsletter itself, again, very organic, just wanted to share my thoughts and ideas. And then Novel is a retail ice cream company that I purchased also in August of 23. I started the acquisition process like January, February of that year, and then closed August of 23. And then that same day, or the day before, I closed on Novel. I started Park SMB, which is an in-person small business community. So I host monthly and weekly events with small business owners in Arizona, like yourself. And that has grown to a pretty decent sized community, completely free, not necessarily a business, but a project, if you will, that I've been working on. And then the business to business consulting or agency has come to life as of 4 months ago. Kendi is somebody I got introduced to back in February of last year.
Through the events?
Indirectly? No, actually through through a community called Venture Cafe. Mm-hmm. We jumped on a panel.
They're nearby. I've never been, but they're nearby. Right?
Yeah, I think it's tech focused for the most part. But you should definitely check them out. They have a really cool.
I need the updated headshots as well. They do that on Thursdays.
They do. They do. That's a good point. I do need to do that. I keep taking random photos for mine. So Venture Cafe, met her. We did a panel. We didn't connect until November of last year. Mm-hmm. So a handful of months later. And then she had been working on Kawadi, which is a business-to-business agency. We go in to small to medium-sized businesses and help them on operations as a whole. So anything from project management tools to SOPs and just general training, team training. We'll go in and actually do the work. So I've been working on that for about 4 months now. So that's kind of the highlight. I did have a coffee shop, closed that as of recently. So that has freed up a lot of mental bandwidth, which is good.
Yeah. We can probably get into that maybe towards the end.
Yes.
I think one of the parts that I find difficult about talking about newsletters is where do I start in terms of explaining the benefits? Mm-hmm. And obviously if I know who I'm talking to, I can kind of tailor the conversation. But for someone like yourself that's doing events, you have just retail locations like food and beverage, You had a coffee shop, which was part of that. Now you just have the ice cream stores, and you have events. Kind of the big picture is that a newsletter is like a halo effect. It's just a general amplifier, right? Just like social media, right? It's like no matter what you're doing, it makes sense for people to like everything have in common. It's like it relies on other people knowing about what's going on and having an affinity towards what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest benefit is if you're not trying to directly promote a business, it's just to amplify and let others know what you're up to. And it's a good way to just simply build an audience. If I have really nothing to sell, it's just to keep people in my world and in my network up to date. And so, again, at first it wasn't to drive sales or generate leads.
You didn't have a back end yet, right? When you first started it.
Yeah, I really didn't have anything to actually like push people to. It was just cool, come get ice cream if you want, but there wasn't really a business I could drive traffic to. So for me it was really started to push the events on the front end. One, it was to keep everyone updated. Two, it was just to amplify the message around why I was hosting events and just to really promote the in-person stuff.
So what is the newsletter? It's called Curated.
It's called Curated.
Curated's the main newsletter. You did have, for Remix, you had its own newsletter for a period of time. But the Curated newsletter, like for people who maybe are just listening to this and aren't going to like look it up right now because they're walking, running, whatever, what is the actual feel of the newsletter? Like what's the promise? Is it still just like, hey, I'm Shawn and we met at one point, I'm just going to tell you about my life now? Or is there kind of like an additional promise, value, proposition?
Yeah, so there's really two main sections. One is the promotion of events. So I just give you a list of everything that's upcoming in the next 90 days. And those are a mix of mostly my events and maybe one or two events that I'm part of or helping host in Arizona mostly. And I will do some events, in LA or like usually on the West Coast. I'll jump around. If I'm traveling, I'll host a little dinner.
You've done some in Austin, right?
Yeah, I've done a handful there. And I'll just get 20, 30 business owners together in that local city. And we'll host something. So I'll promote those events on the front end or the first section of the newsletter. And then the second section is really just a background or kind of a behind the scenes look of what's happening over the last 2 weeks in Novel, Remix, Quadi, all of the projects I'm working on. Is just here's what I'm doing and essentially laying out like the wins, losses, and really just like a task list of what I'm doing. And the goal is to just share and be transparent about what it takes to actually run these things. And I'm not really trying to teach you something specific. I'm indirectly educating you on how to run a business, if you will, by just doing the stuff and showing you what I'm doing and keeping you, having you along for the ride. So hopefully, like the goal with that second section is hopefully you learn just by seeing what happens as time goes on relative to what I said I was going to do. And here are the things that, let's say I'm talking about a 6-month or a 12-month goal. I'm laying out the 6 or 7 things I'm doing today or this month so that goal is achieved, right? So you again are just kind of seeing all of the chess pieces being moved around. And then the last section is really just like personal stuff. Like I'll share some music, I'll share my fitness journey. That's actually a big part of it as well. And that's really it. Just the events and kind of my personal life with projects and fitness.
You started it early, 2 years ago, and the broadcast aspect, meaning just purely a way to notify people about events, that's very straightforward.
Yep.
Right. But why has it been worth the effort to, and it's pretty easy to just send an email that's like, hey, this is coming up next week, this is coming up in 2 months.
Yep.
Why do you put the extra effort in? Why does it continue to be worthwhile to also take the time to do the founder's journal aspect of it, which is like, you can't just send bullet points. Like you have to format it, think, edit it, because you don't want to send something bad or half-baked. So why has that been worth the effort?
2 things. One, on the personal side, great way to hold yourself accountable if you're just sharing what you're doing. So if it's a personal newsletter, a great way to just get everything out of your head on paper. So instead of just writing a to-do list, you have a more thought out version of what you're going to be working on or writing out anyways. So one, it's helped me just stay accountable because I'm publicizing what I'm doing. And if I'm saying I'm going to do all these things and I don't do it, I look like an idiot. So personal, diary / accountability tool. And then second, if you are trying to build a personal brand, I think it's, we all know that newsletters are the most helpful tool to actually build a very engaged audience. And so the consistency of updates, I think, is the most helpful piece by, again, I think that the consistency around keeping people updated shows that you're a legitimate builder, if you will. So, I think for the most part, it's helped me keep my people, sort of updated.
The follow-up question there, and kind of the follow-up thought, is you never hear of anyone going on like an email diet. Like everyone's like, Instagram, it's rotting my brain, I gotta quit. TikTok, rotting my brain, gotta quit. Facebook back in the day. Twitter, obviously, X, people take like, I gotta get off Twitter. No, it's like, I gotta get off email. You know what I mean? It's like, especially reaching not even like younger demographics, but some people just never, it's just more of like the universal medium.
Yeah.
Right? And again, if you use the other platforms, it amplifies everything.
Yep.
How have you gone about, you keep kind of referring to like your people, meaning, friends, family, colleagues. I think your list is much larger than just like your people. Obviously now you're building a tribe of like, and you're growing what could be the tribe you couldn't have without some technology that enables making it larger. But how have you gone about growing the newsletter outside of just people like us? Right, we met at a party, a cocktail party. Don't want to sound like we're crazy here, though. You have the nightclub event coming out soon, so we'll promo that. Though this will probably be published after that happens.
Yeah.
But how do you get out of the? Is it just ground game? You're just running ground game to grow the newsletter, or how have you gotten it as big as you have?
Yeah. So I got it fairly large. Had to trim it quite a bit.
Why did you have to trim it?
I wanted to keep the list active and really, I just didn't want 10,000 people who weren't reading it. I wasn't really worried about open rates and all of that stuff because, again, I'm not selling, what do I call it? I'm blanking on the word, not subscribers, but
ads.
I'm not selling ads or sponsorships.
Or cost per click or
Yeah. And so I wasn't super worried about open rates. I was more worried about sending this to the right people and just making sure that the list was just active. And I wanted the group to, or I wanted personal open rates to be accurate. I didn't want to see 20% open rates in 10,000 people. So I got it fairly large just by sending it out to as many people as possible. So anytime I would get a personal intro to somebody, I would add them manually, right? Whether I asked them or not, they were going into my newsletter. Anytime I am meeting somebody in person, now it's usually guided to my newsletter, and versus, hey, let me get your number. It's usually, hey, here's, what's your email? Let me add you to my newsletter. That's a great way to stay in touch with me.
And the value, right, the give is, by the way, I'll let you know about all these events happening in Arizona, which of course you're going to want to know about if you're a business owner, a builder, an operator.
Right. So it's all been ground game in person. Anytime I'm meeting somebody, it's pushing them to my newsletter for good reasons. And I have not run any ads up to this point, and it's grown organically. I will usually see 10 to 20 a month, new subscribers.
Organic, or you're saying just from life?
Yeah, just from organically.
Like people show up on the list.
People show up on the list. I will manually add maybe 20 to 40 a month, somewhere in that ballpark. Mostly from people attending my events. But again, if I'm out and about and I meet people, that's usually where I guide them to. And the only strategy has been hosting more events And anytime somebody signed up for my events, they're obviously usually coming from the newsletter, or somebody has sent them a direct link to the event I've posted within the newsletter, which then guides them back to the newsletter overall. So, a lot of just ground game, like sending links, texting back and forth, like here's my newsletter. So very, very simple, but I think there's a lot of benefit to running some local ads around my events specifically. I wouldn't drive direct traffic to my newsletter.
We'd drive traffic to an event.
But I would drive traffic to, a local business mixer 10 to 15 miles around where I'm hosting it. And again, they would jump back to my newsletter after attending the event.
That makes a lot of sense. I think even in our relationship, and I saw this when my personal newsletter was more active, and I still see it through the podcast and through the business's newsletter, is, we had met right before I moved to Mexico briefly, and then I came back, and we hung out a couple times. I don't even know if we hung out until I don't think we did.
No,
and then I
went until you moved.
Yeah, and then I moved to New York, and then I came back, but it's like, you and I just had one very brief interaction at a cocktail party, and then I think I got on we had a phone call, and then you probably just followed up and put me on the newsletter.
I just copied and
pasted from the calendar invite to the Zoom link to the newsletter, and then as I'm in New York, and we hit it off just on that Zoom call, but like who's to say we would have like totally kept in touch, and then I just kept seeing your stuff in Arizona, and obviously still have like friends here, and just was forwarding events to Noah, who we hung out with today. Like I was like, I can't go to these events, but they sound cool, so let me tell the friends I had in Arizona to go to these things. And I was replying to it, starting a conversation, and then when I did move back, it's like kind of kept a consistent through line through that entire period of time. So it's so simple, and it's so, I don't want to say it's not sexy, because like to some extent it is, like the results in the long term are very like desirable, but it's just such like a subtle thing that it goes so unappreciated. But just the people who are top of mind, like opportunities flow to them, the people who are drifting by the wayside versus the people who are just kind of always staying just in the orbit. It's crazy.
Yeah, going back to your original question, I don't think I answered like the actual benefit of the newsletter itself, other than like the personal accountability piece. I think that's what it is right there. You are so top of mind on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis, whatever the cadence of your newsletter is. Right now it's bi-weekly, but I used to send it out once a week. And I mean, the sheer level of feedback and just random emails you'll get from whether it's an intro, or if you're somebody in the acquisition space, I was just getting deals like sent to me left and right. So there's so much benefit in being in somebody's inbox every week, every other week. Again, whatever the cadence is, if it's consistent, they start expecting you to be there. And so people are now getting excited to see the updates, and they're excited to see what the events in March, April, May are gonna be. And whenever they see my ask, that triggers something when they get that opportunity. So I'm fairly active in the acquisition space, so I'm always saying, hey, if you have good deals or good partners or whatever you're privy to in Arizona from a business perspective, like keep me top of mind. Whether I just look at it and give you feedback, or I try to make something work with you, let me know. And just a simple ask like triggers that. Oh yeah, I read Shawn's newsletter last week. He was looking for this. Let me shoot him an email. And so it's a little bit more. It's a good way to be direct with people. I think social has this like quick like flyby effect. Or so used to. Was that recording? We're good? Okay.
Yeah, it looks like it held on.
Okay. So social has this very like just quick shot effect where it's really hard to just be in somebody's face all the time.
Yeah, we're still good.
But yeah, and people are so used to just like moving quickly on social, right? And I think people are very, very thoughtful when it comes to emails. They'll sit and read stuff for 5, 10, 15 minutes, right? And they actually want to ingest what is in front of them. Versus social, it's just a quick like, oh, I see him all the time. Like, let me just keep moving. So it's it's just a very intentional way to stay top of mind with people. Not that there's a pro or a con to running just a newsletter or just social, but if you were to push heavy on a newsletter that then pushes people to social, again, that's a great way to like even more like quick fire and stay top of mind. But the newsletter piece alone, I think, will get you 90% there. Like I don't do social at all.
Yeah.
I try, but I have like 9 posts on Instagram.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm fairly consistent with LinkedIn, but it's always pushing people back to my newsletter. So
the subtle point you mentioned there on the acquisition side, something a lot of people I don't think realize is, like you mentioned, when you've created this expectation and this excitement where this kind of ritual where people come to expect your newsletter on a regular basis, you create a container to insert all, as long as you have like your core 80% similar week over week over week, like you mentioned, here are the events, here's what I was working on in the past 3 weeks, here's the podcast I listened to, then that bottom area and that top area is real estate to just like say anything, right? By the way, my friend, he's brilliant, he just got laid off from his role at ABC. If you're looking for this, check it out. Yeah. By the way, this just came across my desk. And so you've created a very natural opportunity. Like what you couldn't do is your network fatigues. Like you have limited social capital in terms of how much you can ask one-on-one all the time, right? Like
100%.
If you just texted me every single time a deal came across your desk, it was like, hey, by the way, do you know anyone looking to buy this? Hey, do you know anyone looking to hire this and this? Hey, do you know anyone who can do video because I have this event coming up? Like I'd be like, dude, stop asking me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you are asking me every single week when you put it at the top of your newsletter, and I'm still going to read it. It's just created a completely different frame for asking for favors and requests and giving value. Same thing. Like if I texted one-on-one every time any of my friends like, hey, just publish another podcast. Like, dude, I don't care. Or like some people do care, but versus you're on the list and it's like, oh, by the way, okay, great. And so it's just created for so many different situations. It's the same in a business situation. And now that like you mentioned with Quadi, you're a lot more B2B. Selling B2B, it's the same thing, right? If you have a prospect, they say, hey, yeah, keep checking in on me. What are you gonna do? Hey, dude, you want to get on a call every Monday for now through the end of time? It's like, no, but like all that really matters is you've reminded them you've existed once a week.
Exactly.
And so by adding them to your newsletter, and like sometimes even if they don't even open the email, they're still seeing your name once a week, and there's power in that.
Yeah. From a B2B perspective, I've given enough at this point, and not that I'm going to extract anything going forward, but when you provide enough value via email by just indirect asks and just all these small little touch points that seem, when you're writing on a weekly basis, you can sometimes think you're asking a lot. But again, you're just like, you're dishing that out, and it's more of it feels like an update more so than an actual ask. And so even with the events, I've tried both ways religiously, sending 150 personal invites via text and 2,000 emails or really just sending it on my newsletter to 2,000 people. And the click-through rate, or just the attention that each of them get is not even close. Like the newsletter just takes the cake on that. Most people just treat it as another text message, right? They see it, I'll get that, I'll get back to that later, sort of thing. And if you I've tried to do that for maybe 4 or 5 events in a row, and it did feel a little spammy, right? I don't know why there's this difference in text and calls and
for invitations.
Invitations, but the newsletter just feels more organic, and it doesn't feel like I'm pushing somebody to take a direct action. But I think the beauty of framing your newsletter as an update versus an ask is that if you do that long enough and you do have something that you need to direct traffic to, or drive people to, you've been providing value for so long that it doesn't feel like a pushy sales pitch when you do say, hey, just letting you know, or just like throwing this out there, I've got something for you if you're interested. If not, no pressure, right? And you can just put these direct links in there. people can skim through it, and it doesn't feel like a direct sales pitch, if you will. So I love the idea of being consistent with just a pure value-driven newsletter, whether it's information, whether it's news, a personal update, whatever it is. There's a result that will come from that if you do it long enough without begging for business. Even if you do have a B2B business that you can drive traffic to or want to drive traffic to, doing that for a little bit of time without an ask, and then asking on the back end will just like open up the floodgates from what I've seen.
I'm going to confirm our audio is still good. I know the camera's still good, but yeah, no, it's totally still good. Okay. I had a point to make here. On the B2B side, it doesn't even matter B2B side, the classic kind of aphorism in sales and marketing and just life, right, career is like show, don't tell.
Yep.
And when you think about one of the goals of a newsletter is to control the positioning, meaning you want people to see you a certain way, because in order for people to whatever with you, buy with you, go to your events, like if they don't see you, and again, the word status is sometimes misused, but if they don't see you as, if they see you as like a nobody, like why would they go to your events?
Yep.
Right? Versus, oh, like Shawn's the guy, he's really cool, I bet his events are awesome, they're going to be really excited to go to the events. Same thing with like your business. If you seem like a true professional real deal operator, then they're going to be like, so now, for example, with what you do with ops consulting, this behind the scenes of like, oh, this guy's a real business owner, right? You talk about, and today you're getting permits for the truck, you talk about all the different hoops you have to jump through and the hiring and the firing and I read that and I'm like, okay, this is a business owner, right? Not someone who like says he bought a business and has an ice cream truck, but no, it's like, okay, no, you list the details. It's like, now that we hit this milestone of 15 employees versus 30 employees, now we have to figure this out. And it's like, okay, like, so I'm reading this as a business owner thinking about hiring you for consulting. And I'm like, okay, this is a business owner I'm dealing with on the other end. And it's so hard because you can tell me all day, we're the best at ops consulting. I have this in 10 years of experience. And I'm like, it's very easy to say all that. But then in terms of just like, what can I point my finger to? You're actually building that impression with me through the storytelling, through the pictures of the events, through the fact that you have sponsors, and it's just a completely different. I just wanted to like illustrate that point a little bit better of like how that phenomenon's actually occurring. Like why is your credibility increasing? Why is it working? And it's because like this is through your format specifically, like one way where I think that's really making itself manifest.
Yeah, it's just building credibility, right? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not trying. I am educating, right? Going back to my original point, like I'm showing you what to do if you were in this scenario, or if you wanted to build a food service business, really any business, like across the board, most of the shit that we do. Can I?
That's
say
okay.
Shit? Okay. Most of the stuff that we do on the back end of a business is relatively the same no matter the industry, just positioned a little differently. So there's a lot of lessons that people are going to get from me just laying it all out. And then to your point, when I have an ask for my B2B service, I don't necessarily have to prove that this specific business can do what I say it's going to do, especially if I'm operating it, or if I'm the person behind the scenes actually doing the work. You've seen me do the work, right?
Exactly.
Like I've just showed you for the last 2 years that I can do this. And that alone is the sales pitch.
Exactly.
Right? Like that's that is the pool of credibility that I've been building, to the point where I may not even have to ask anything. I can just lay out the service. And I've done that a handful of times with the events themselves, where I've shown you I can host events. I've shown you I can get 50, 60, 70 people there. And now we are getting, or I'm getting, one or two companies like a quarter that reach out and say, hey, I want to host an event for 20 business owners in this specific industry. Can you help me host it? And, we'll pay you whatever. And you you get those people there, right? And so I didn't ask for that service, or I didn't want to do that necessarily, but I have, one or two companies every so often that just saw that being done. And so there's two ways. I mean, if you're going to build a newsletter directly or front facing with your like the business is the face of the newsletter, right? Like if Orbit Marketing is the newsletter and it's not Lewis's newsletter, you could still do the same format. You can still just show behind the scenes of Orbit Marketing, right? You can show Lewis, you can show Shawn, you can show the team, say, here's what we're doing. We're not trying to sell you anything. We're just showing you the playbook. And over time, when somebody's ready for your service, they will think of you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because you've laid it out on the table. You know what you're doing, or you clearly know what you're doing if you're not out of business yet. So
exactly. Yeah. To the earlier point of creating the container, it's interesting how as future opportunities come up, and this is the kind of first thread we had of like just the global indiscriminate amplifier that the newsletter is, now that you have Quadi and you've kind of created this reputation, you've created this theme of behind the scenes of what we're doing, you could totally on purpose now write an issue that's like how I handle ops and project management, right? Because a big thing Quadi's really good at, like ClickUp, Asana, Trello, just like whatever project management, that's where does everyone fall apart in ops? It's like project management's a big symptom. And you could totally just like, it would be very natural. It's like, I'm going to do a quick overview walkthrough of how we handle that. And then that's just a great opportunity. And you wouldn't have had that natural opportunity to run that out if you didn't already have done the pre-work. Yeah.
For me to go from no newsletter, let's say I didn't have a newsletter at all. I started working on Quadi. I built a Quadi facing newsletter, and I just started sending a bunch of, let's say, Loom videos of me walking through a project management build. People would be like, who is this one?
Literally, who is this? Like actually, who is this person?
Who is this, right?
Yeah, like I don't know anything about this guy. Yeah.
And that's the key. The company needs that figure. Unfortunately, like especially today, you need like one or two people that show face behind a company. It's really hard to just spin up, a Quadi newsletter with no reputation, no nothing, and start adding a bunch of my favorite people on this newsletter and expecting them to watch or even read my business breakdown of the week or anything like that. But to your point, if I just added a specific section every other week about Quadi and what we're working on within, with a specific client. It's on brand,
because it's like, hey, I took on another project. Here's what's happening at the other project.
Exactly. And so just like with sales outreach, when you are prospecting, a great way to connect with a prospect is by directly relaying something to their project or their website or their newsletter, right? So you're sending a Loom video, for example, of what you would do to their website, their newsletter, if you were to work with them.
Exactly.
And so you don't have to do that necessarily. You can do that for your current clients. Just say, here's what we've been doing, or here's what we're going to do with this specific client. And hopefully that person's on the newsletter. And if not, then in a couple months from now, they should be.
You met Daniel at the coffee event, right? Daniel Bustamante.
Yep.
Yeah. We did the podcast with him, and that's all his newsletters. It's funnel breakdowns, same thing. He just audits. Yeah. It's a brilliant format. Yeah. Right.
Exactly. And that alone, one, I'm going to apply that to my own business, even if I don't end up working with him. And I know that now he's the expert of funnel building.
Yeah.
But
exactly. You'd still put him in your mind, but you're going to refer people to him, right? If someone comes to exactly, right?
Yeah. Even if I'm not ready, but when I'm ready, I know who I'm going to go to. And the worst part of B2B, like I'm thinking about this right now with Novel. I'm trying to decide, and it's not like this crazy project, but I want to do a handful of local mailing or local mailer campaigns,
like print mail. Yeah,
print mail around like Peoria and some of these other areas. And it's a nightmare trying to find like a company to do that. I have to just
we need to start the print mail guy newsletter.
Right. Like, if I could just go to Twitter or go to LinkedIn or even just hit one of, of the people up in our world and see who.
Have you put an ask out to the newsletter?
Not yet.
See, that's what we got to do.
Right.
You got a next issue of Curated.
Exactly.
I'm looking for an expert at direct mail.
And perfect opportunity. That's all. I guarantee you, I'll get 4 or 5 emails back that, are just here are links.
I've worked with this guy. Yeah, exactly.
With, or I do this. I'll help you. So, just being top of mind.
Yeah, because you got all sorts of people on the list. You're like, again, you've got other local business owners who are gonna have done direct mailers before, right?
Yep. So, the challenge with B2B is staying top of mind, and so if you can have a place to continually just dish out what you're working on and just prove credibility, I don't see how it's literally impossible for it not to work if you don't come off as a spam, or spammy. Like it's the best way to show that you're good at doing what you're doing.
I think we'll use this last couple minutes we've been talking online, we've been talking newsletters. What I like to do with these podcasts is kind of like 80-20 them of, right, we're all going to talk about content marketing and the ways content marketing kind of manifests benefits in various ways in life and business. And then the other half is just like other interesting things, or the other 20% for those keeping up with the numbers. Events. That's in person. Yeah. That's ground game. Why did you decide to start hosting events? How did you get started hosting events?
Yeah.
Why has that been worthwhile to keep doing?
Yeah. So selfishly wanted to meet more people to begin with. I just felt like post grad, if you're not in a big organization, you're trying to do your own thing, or even if you're in a small company, it's hard to meet new people. It's hard to build your tribe. And it's hard to connect with people that are doing similar things, right? So if you're a founder, you're an operator, or you just run businesses, it's hard to meet those types of people because they're busy doing other things. They're not going to go to the bar on a Friday night. And so the initial push was, okay, I've attended a handful of events. I'm not meeting the right people. Like I'm getting a step closer, but it's not there yet. So I just took it upon myself to try to host one. What
did you start with?
I started with an open mixer. I just said, hey, I want 50 people to that are founders, owners, high level executives was sort of my copy play. And let's just connect. Let's hang out. No pressure. There's nothing on the back end. Like let's just see what comes out of it. So sent it to everybody I knew. I got maybe 35, 40 people in the room the first time.
Where did you host it?
Arizona Wilderness in downtown. That outdoor patio.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not a clue. I've only lived downtown for almost a year now, so
it's really cool.
It's probably like a 5-minute walk for me, but
yeah, it totally is. Yeah. I used to go there all the time when I lived at your place, and really nice outdoor patio, perfect for hosting little mixers or happy hours. And so, yeah, wanted to meet more people. Felt like nobody was doing it. Maybe the way I wanted it to, not the wrong way, but I felt like I could find even better people. And then 2, it was a place to get other people connected. And the hardest, from what I've heard, even in other communities before I started hosting mine, was I also have the same challenge, right? Of I can't meet, or I don't have time, or I can't find the right tribe or the right people to connect with. And so I just wanted to get others in a room to help them, one, build confidence and actually like go out and quote unquote network. I hate the word, but like, build relationships. And then hopefully others can start building businesses together, referring business, whatever comes out of that, great. But that's a byproduct of building a really good community or building relationships. So the benefit was I get to meet the right founders. I get and business owners, I get to meet investors, I get to meet all of the people that I would need to connect with to grow my personal and professional life. And being the host, again, builds credibility, shows
True.
that, hosting something is arguably the best way to build like in-person credibility.
Yes.
Right? So
Everyone in the room sees you as the guy.
exactly. And there's no ego behind it. It's just like you took your time and energy to get these 50, 60, whatever number is in the room together. And you've provided a space for other people to connect. Mm-hmm. That's really cool. And there's some sense of reciprocity there.
Absolutely.
And so pure relationship building piece has been arguably the most impactful on my life.
Yeah, and if people are the other kind of human psychology at play is, let's say someone meets someone and thinks, well, that guy's really cool, right? The logical next thought is, well, Shawn must be cool because he's the guy who put this whole thing together. So it's like you get, and if people who are there aren't cool and like give bad vibes, then that does also reflects on you.
It does.
And so that's, again, all these kind of potential reputational gains. Everything real comes with like a degree of risk. And so you've taken that risk by like putting people in a room together and like hoping something good happens. Mm-hmm. So I want to have some things that we can point at with our fingers, lots of pointing. The one point I'll make before we do that is you talked about and this is something that Nick Ray, I know you're familiar with Nick Ray, and I think he was at some point a catalyst on the journey as well.
100%. The reason. I just want to hit that. I read that book. So there's like two moments. Nick Ray's book, I hosted the event 3 weeks later. Going back to the acquisition, I read one book called Buy Then Build. That's a great recommendation if anybody...
That's Walker, right?
Walker Dybel.
Yeah.
I read that book. 3 months later, had a business under contract. Like, sometimes literally just like the most
Shawn's
simple...
gap is like this. He's got no
thing.
gap. He's got no gap.
But just...
That's a good
when
thing.
you find like the Bible of whatever it is you're trying to pursue, or even just like, I didn't know I would ever host an event. Like, I bought this book because I thought Nick Ray's concept was cool. Mm-hmm. I wasn't ever planning on hosting an event. I was like, oh, this is like a 100-page book. Like, I'll get through it in a weekend or whatever. And he was crushing it online at the time. He still is. And I was like, oh, this guy's cool. Like, I'll just read his book. And it was like, this just like unplugged something for me. And I realized that he had the most underrated attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of a newsletter, obviously.
Yeah. Hey, I do events as well.
Yeah.
We've done events together.
Yeah.
Events and newsletters. All these things are great. The point of why I brought up Nick is the giving aspect of events, right? It's not about what it's doing. I mean, it is about what it's doing for you, right? That's great. But the giving people the opportunity to, this was a point I had way earlier in my head and maybe I'll bring up now, but the people just, how often you probably are the wrong person to ask because, and so would I, by hosting events, you get invited to things very frequently, actually, because it's like, well, I should invite this guy to something because you're top of mind and there's the reciprocity. But everyone else who's not doing this, like, it's such a gift to receive a personal invitation to something actually very cool. Yeah. And it's such a gift to, like, open these people's doors to, like, and, we've hosted events together, we've hosted events separately, and the amount of, like, feedback we get from people, and, like, we have testimonials for our events, and, like, we got those after, like, 2. Yeah. Because it's just so real how much these, the permutations of people connecting, especially because we know how to curate the events. It's very, very powerful. The point earlier I had about the psychology of the texts versus the emails is literally just like, and obviously there's some flaws to this theory, but emails are like, oftentimes people are like in the mode of thinking of like calendar, like email is calendar, email's desktop, email's computer. 100%. And so like someone gets an invite on their email about a business networking event. There's when they're like on their phone reading their texts and the other texts are like memes and football and nonsense and their mom, then it's like, they're not in the frame of mind to think about, oh, do I want to go on the 21st to this networking event? Yeah. It's like versus like they're on their email and they're like, all right, they're in their work, they put their work cap on, like, oh, a networking event the 21st, I should do more network. Like, it's just a different psychology. Yeah,
the level of intent,
exactly,
the intent behind the medium is there. Yeah, right? Like what you are promoting is what they've been thinking about in that 20 or 30 minute period where they are checking emails. If you are a pure comedic email, not to say that that won't work, but there's going to be different periods of time where that's beneficial to send, right? So for things like my newsletter, I usually send on Mondays or Tuesdays. My events are Thursdays and usually Wednesdays and Thursdays, but Mondays and Tuesdays, people are somewhat back at it. If there's a holiday on a Monday, people are checking emails Tuesday morning. So I'm trying to get in there right around everything else, and I may fit in between 10 or 20 other emails. There's other newsletters in there very likely, and so they are in work mode or networking mode and trying to business
Career
develop,
mode,
right? And so they're thinking, okay, my week looks slim. I need to go to more events. I need to, maybe I just need a quick ounce of motivation.
I need to get out of my house, right? I just got to do something.
Exactly. And so maybe they're also cool. I need a little jolt. I had a crappy weekend, and so there's there's a whole suite of ways to. Anyways, I won't even go down another rabbit hole, but yeah.
I want to end with stories.
Okay.
Anecdotes, things that people can remember, things that have stood out to you. Maybe you can do one for newsletter, one for the events. If there's maybe a piece of a question that can help frame this or inspire more collisions in your mind. Mm-hmm. What would be the most impactful newsletter or piece of content that you've published? Right, you could think of impact as purely quantity, like which one got the most replies, started the most conversations, or led to something significant. So maybe I don't know, there's some theoretically, if you met Kendi because of a newsletter, you could be oh, well, now I'm doing this thing because of this thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's one that stands out to you as an issue that got the most reception or conversations, or people I needed this, or good for you, or you're having a down day and someone came to your support because of the newsletter.
Yeah. What's crazy, and honestly, the level of feedback I get on every one at this point is pretty special. But this is going to sound super cheesy, but the second or third one, I would say, I won't say the first because it kickstarted my journey and all of that, but the second and third one, I think, because I am a person who likes to start things, get them to a certain point, and then I usually stop when it's not working, right away. If something's not working in 90 days, I'm usually be it's just a flop, right? Which is a very bad way to operate business in many ways. But with the newsletter, it was the first thing that I just stuck through no matter what. After the second and third one, I got maybe 2 or 3 solid emails. I maybe had 150, 200 people on the list. I was oh wow, out of 150 people, 3, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 said something pretty cool, or they sent me an intro to somebody else. Even at this scale, it's working. And so I think that the story, if you will, is that it was the first project that I stuck through no matter the outcome, because there wasn't really an ask on the back. There wasn't, going back to our original point around, I wasn't doing it to make money, or I wasn't doing it to generate business. I was just doing it out of the pure goodness of my heart,
desire to do it.
Just honestly want to just share what I'm doing, and it's a good way to get this crap out of my head. And so the second or third one really kind of solidified that I wanted to do this. And then probably 25 newsletters in, which is hard to say how many weeks, because sometimes I would go 3 weeks, and sometimes I go 2.
More than 6 months in, probably less than a year.
Yeah, halfway through, yeah. And at that point, I started getting enough inbound from people introducing me to somebody, deals my way, just a quick oh, this is awesome, thanks for sharing, and those connections Kendi, right? So I definitely would not have been where we are if it weren't for the newsletter, because she had been reading it since we did that panel together.
Yeah.
I got her email from the panel and I put her into my newsletter manually. We hadn't even talked really. It was like a 2-second
Just a full send.
conversation.
Yeah.
I was like, she's in.
Dude, it's so efficient. It's unbelievable. It is.
It's insane. And so she was reading it for 6 or 7 months and we hadn't talked at all.
Yeah.
And
you had no idea the work you're putting in terms of just like
it's
building
just
affinity.
mode.
It's stealth, dude.
Yeah. And so we just jump on a call because I know she's looking to hire somebody. And just a quick story on the Kendi thing. I jump on a call with her. She's like, yeah, I'm looking for, account manager / ops manager. And I was like, well, it kind of looks like you need like a right-hand person. Like you need more than just an account manager. Like you're doing all of this by yourself.
Or your expectations for an account manager seem very founder level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like this is your first account manager and you need like a COO.
Yeah.
And so by the end of the conversation, we're like, can I just do this? And she was like, what? And through credibility for the last 6 months, she's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like did we do an interview? Absolutely. But it wasn't as intense as a COO or like a partner level would have been if I had not.
Well, she was looking for red flags, not green flags. She had all the green flags, right?
That's exactly right. Like I couldn't have said it better than that. She was trying to find something wrong.
Just making sure she wasn't missing something, not like trying to make sure you are qualified.
Right. And so over the last 7 months, I had been interviewing her, or she had been interviewing me, indirectly by just reading what I'm doing and seeing what I'm capable of.
That's powerful.
So I think that's I don't know if that's a good story or not, but I
think it's a great story.
I think that was.
I'm happy.
I was one of the That was one of the coolest moments, I think, just to see that, there are people reading it and being impacted by it, whether it generates me business or not, without me even knowing. Like there's probably 500 people on the list that I know that read it consistently that we haven't spoken to in a year.
Yep.
Or that I haven't spoken to in a year.
Yeah, and if people
are staying in touch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I went to a wedding a few months ago.
Yeah.
Where it was like in Vegas, like a bunch of childhood friends and their families, and a lot of those families like are on my newsletter somehow. And so, I mean, I show up to these people and they've got a million, like they know everything.
It's crazy. It's a weird feeling.
It's cool though.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
It is. And like, it's crazy enough. Like,
and even in person, they're like, oh, you need to talk to this person who's here. Yeah. And like, just even at the wedding, all the introductions were facilitated.
Mm-hmm. Dude, my grandparents read it.
Oh yeah.
Like I'll jump on a call with my grandparents to catch up because they live in Montreal.
Yep.
And they're like, oh my god, like you're doing this and that, like that's so cool, blah blah blah. Like, it's crazy, So, it's impactful in like so many ways.
Do we have one story to close? I do think the Kendi story is worthy of a close on its own. It's a great story of a connection made through the event that came back to you. Of like this person met this person, like almost a story like that, but because of something, someone came back to you and reported. Even like a basic thing runs. Like I had an event years ago, one of my early Nick Ray parties, where this woman has like a soap store in Tempe, and then I, just found out this girl just like went to support her store, and like I just like felt good that happened. I was like, they had ended up at the thing, and she went there to buy some gifts, and I was like, that's like a nice thing. Mm-hmm. It's not like life changing, but it's like I feel happy to have contributed that small like 100%. Interaction, even if it's something like that. Anything come to mind? I know you have a bunch of real estate people. Has anyone like sold a house?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's 3 or 4 instances. Most of them are just people meeting at these events. Then they end up doing business a couple weeks later. To your point about real estate, one gal has met a handful of investors.
Cool.
That are predominantly in real estate. And then on the other front, a gentleman I've known for a little bit over a year now was introduced to like 2 or 3 really big time CPG investors that he needed connections with, and was looking for arguably like 2 or 3 years at this point for those types of people. I can't think of like a specific one, but it happens honestly like every month.
Yeah.
Like every event. The next one, a month later, I will hear from, I met this person and like we're now starting a business together, or I bought his I bought his course, I bought this, or I went to his storefront, right? So it happens so much, especially after, with consistency. If you do this long enough and the same people keep showing up, it will yield like the most crazy results.
Dude, the funny thing is when stuff happens that people don't tell you about, and then you hear about it, and you're like, how come no one told me about this?
Yeah.
It's like someone be like, oh, I can't. I'm getting lunch with this person. I'm like, how do you know him?
Yeah.
Like, we met at your event. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
All right, well, you two have fun without me. And,
exactly.
and then you're
exactly.
just happens all the time.
Yeah. And so that's another good example that will happen. Coffee meetups, business partnerships, people will travel together, like people will date.
Oh, yeah.
Like literally, I know 2 or 3 people who are now in relationships from meeting at my events. I've dated people in my events.
all right.
So we'll end it there.
Oh man, hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
It's a good lead magnet.
It is. Well, I was gonna make a similar point, not about dating,
yeah.
but it's the same efficiency, right? Of there's a woman who wanted to get coffee with me on like a professional basis, and I was like, I'm kind of busy, like I don't know if I want to like take this meeting with you. But then I was like, oh, just like have her come to the event. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's like what did she want to do? Or did she want to put a face to a name? It's like, do we have 30 minutes of material to talk about, like one-on-one? But we're just like, wanted to shake hands, tell me her shtick, I tell her my shtick.
Yeah. Love that.
And it's great. And so it's like, she came to one of the events, and now I'm like, I've provided value to her because I'd probably connect her to a bunch of other people who are super relevant. Mm-hmm. And I still took her meeting. And she was cool. And like, she has like cool stuff going on. So, and I was able to like pre-qualify. So now like I probably actually will get pre-qualify, right? Like now I probably will get coffee with her to like talk about her professional matters that like she wanted to reach out to me about. Yeah. But like I was able to know it that like I was like, here, come to this thing, I'm doing it, and the newsletter is the same efficiency.
Yeah.
So
yeah, 100%.
Events, newsletters, ice cream, formerly bagels.
Formerly bagels. Yeah. It is a great. If you don't want to do something, it's very informal, so it's a great way to just like have people enter your world in a non-awkward way.
Exactly.
For them, for the most part, when you've been doing this long enough and you've been networking long enough, like it's not awkward to take an hour,
dude, and back on the dating front too.
Right, on the dating front.
It's like you meet someone and you're like, because to meet someone you just like, especially someone you meet kind of randomly and you get their number and like you didn't interact that much, and then you're like, hey, let's go do this like one-on-one date. Like, especially as time passes, they're like, they don't remember who you are, they don't remember that you're not like a serial killer, and so there's like, I know about that, and then you're like, hey, like I'm just doing this like thing at this public venue with 50 other people. Then they show up with a friend, and they feel like, and then they scope you out, and you look good because you're hosting an event, and you look cool for hosting an event. So,
dude, the ultimate lead magnet.
The ultimate lead magnet. Too many title names for this episode. All right, any parting thoughts? Otherwise, we're just going to tell people about Curated, and if they tell you who they are, they're going to end up on the list whether they like it or not. Apparently,
no pressure, by the way. No, I mean, I think if you have ever thought about, and this is not like some motivational thing, if you've ever thought about writing in general, just write a very like list-based thing to start, right? Like just write your tasks in a newsletter format, or write your thoughts out in a newsletter
what
format.
I plan to do next week, what I did last week.
Yeah, it's like
a public sprint, literally.
Exactly, and just keep people updated with what you're working on, and just see how that progresses. If it doesn't go anywhere, cool. You have an accountability piece that you've put in place, and there's probably some cool people. Your family gets to see what you're up to, and that's that. It doesn't turn into anything. So what? But if it does, which is my thought going into it was that cool. I'll send it to my family, and I don't have to say the same shit every week.
It's worth it right there.
That saves
You've got your money's worth.
It saves me an hour a week of conversation. Cool. And if not, it turns into something really good. You've opened up opportunities for yourself. You've built credibility. And then if you are able to somewhat, develop a little bit of confidence to host some events, highly recommend.
Yeah, and you already have the list. You already have the distribution.
You have the people that you can start inviting, and it doesn't feel awkward to host your first thing. But with, especially anybody on the business front, like we know that we all have to do business development. Mm-hmm. And so the best way to do so is curating the environment with the people you want to do business with you. And if you are the host, you curate the people. You have a lead magnet or you have something to sell them. Do it organically, right? Like, don't pressure people into anything, but just bring them into a room, present what you have. That's literally, I can't think of another way to get more predictable business than email distribution and in-person events.
I'm gonna take some cash out, just pay you across the table for saying that.
I mean,
the perfect one-liner.
Like, literally, there's no better. Yeah, and this isn't somebody who, like, I literally have nothing to sell, and I'm getting inbound of people wanting to do stuff, and I can't give them anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Just
like,
ice cream.
Yeah, I'm like, you can go to my shops if you want, but yeah, that's it. That's my parting words. Like, write shit and host events, and
keep it
that
simple.
will keep it super simple, and that can literally be your business development department. Like, that's it.
Excellent. I know it's Curated. I always forget the link because I got a bookmark. Curated.com, curated.substack.com.
It's
Shawn Allard on Google should probably work. Shawn Allard Curated on Google.
Yeah, I believe so. I tweaked it a little bit recently. I think it's substack.curated.com.
That doesn't sound right.
Or it could be email.shawnallard.com. We'll put the right link in there.
We'll put the right link. I'll check it in a second.
Because I made one like lander that has like the community stuff, the events, that. So I have to go back. I just changed it like a week ago or so.
So respectfully, what we're pointing out to the people is you don't need to be good at technology to get the benefits from this.
No.
You don't even have to know the damn website.
You don't even have to know what your website is.
It's still
just pull an email from your account into a Substack and write to them.
Exactly.
That's it. All manual.
All manual. Brute force away to victory. Ultimate lead magnet.
And lastly, not everything needs to be scalable. That's a thought that came to mind with the manual stuff. I've been preaching this a lot lately. People want to automate absolutely everything, right? And yes, you can manually, you can automate a lot of stuff in your business. But I think if you commit to one, you can't really scale in-person events. So that's kind of
Charles is going to publish an ebook called "How to Do Your AI in Person Events." Yeah, I love Charles.
If he does,
he's a maniac, but I fucking love Charles. I love Charles.
I will buy it to better understand how to do that. But
and he's going to have an AI write the book for him about anyway.
And then just AI bots are actually in person. But
he's a funny dude.
It's like these two things don't have to be automated, and they shouldn't be to build your initial audience, right? Like your first 5,000, 10,000 people, like manually add these people to a list. Anytime you get a freaking email, copy and paste it. Doesn't matter who it is, right? I did that on the front end, and that's why I got to a huge number, and then I trimmed it down. I was like, oh, Fred from Kansas, like, screw this guy. He's never going to read this. But I added him on the front end, right? And then I saw he never opened anything, and cool.
Sure, that's just
or he cussed me out and said, who the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
Who the hell are you? That's fine. And you trim it every so often, but every time you get a connection, manually update it. You don't have to have this like fancy thing on the front end to this crazy lead magnet with the the open flow and this, like, just throw them in there and send them something every other week.
Dude, sometimes I'm so on the same page as you for that ethos, and it's especially in the B2B world. It's like, dude, if you got 20 clients next month, that'd be a crazy good month. If you got 10, that'd probably be a pretty good month. Like most B2B service companies, under whatever metric, 10 clients a month is a pretty good month.
Dude, I would lose my mind if I got 10 clients a month.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, I wouldn't even be able to serve.
And so it's like, so you're trying to scale XYZ, automate XYZ to the infinite.
Yeah.
It scales to the N, like whatever.
And all you need is one.
And all you need is like 1 to 2, like 5, 6, like couple sales calls a week. And especially in like the lead quality from your automated outreach is bottom of the barrel versus these, like, what's the close rate from an inbound lead on your newsletter, right? 3x the close rate 100%. From like Joe Schmo from Instantly or like some Alexi crazy situation. So All right.
Yeah.
We've got we can chat all day, and we do, but I think we've got some great material here.
Hopefully something to work with.
I think plenty to work with.
Cool.
So cool.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Shawn. Good
Thanks,
time.
man.
I know we've a long time coming. We made it happen.
Yeah, made it happen.
We got there.
Peace.
Sweet.